Now at 8 o'clock on WKYT this morning, we've learned new details about the arrest of a Laurel County mother who nearly ran over an officer with her 5-year-old son in the car. A wildfire in California is out of control and is expected to burn for another month. We'll look at what's in the fire's path just ahead. And fans of Harry Potter are celebrating this morning with the release of a new book, where you can celebrate in Lexington ahead on WKYT this morning.
This is WKYT This Morning.
Harry Potter fans all over are excited this morning. Good Sunday morning to you. I'm Michelle Chamberlain. Sean Moody is off this morning, but Mike Linden is here with a look at today's forecast. And no more flash flooding, right, Mike?
Well, it looks like at least the potential for it is low compared to where we have been lately. There are still quite a few areas that are wet, but what we are seeing this morning, Michelle, is some pretty dense fog in just a few spots. We look across Kentucky and we look at Franklin County. How about Fayette County? Very good to start out our morning. You can see some blue skies. Can't say the same in Rowan County and Breathitt County, where the fog is quite dense. It's even difficult to see the trees right in front of the tower camera there. Visibility is down close to 0 in eastern Kentucky. So if you're hitting the Mountain Parkway or the Hal Rogers Parkway this morning, just take it easy. Remember not to use those brights and fog. They'll reflect right back at you and make it that much more unsafe to drive. As far as thunderstorms go this morning, what we're finding is actually pretty much only in Clinton and Wayne counties, pushing eastward along the Tennessee line, bringing with it some heavy downpours. That's the thing. If we do see rainfall today, it could be in a heavy amount very quickly. That's what we're finding this morning. That's what we're likely to continue to see the next few days. Coming up, I'll take you right through the end of July and into August with what looks to be a stormy outlook. Michelle?
Thanks so much, Mike. Now we're learning new details about what led up to the arrest of a Laurel County mother. Deputies say Jamie Allen's 5-year-old son Braden is safe this morning with family after he was reported missing. And Allen is in the Laurel County Detention Center on a list of charges, including attempted murder of a police officer. WKYT's Mike Byers live in the studio this morning with details. Mike?
We've learned that Jamie Allen did not go into custody easily when deputies finally found her near London with her son. It all started yesterday when a deputy first went to a home on Sally's Branch Road. The homeowner, who is Allen's boyfriend, asked for her to be removed from the home. The deputy says Allen tried to run him over while her son was still in the car with her.
I could see a female driver, and at that point I recognized it was the person that I was after. Recognized her from previous arrests. I yelled several times to stop, stop, stop. At this point I was in the middle of the road. She sped up and began coming directly at me.
After 10 o'clock last night, deputies say they found Allen at a home on Langnau Road with her son, that about 10 miles east of London. Officers say Allen pulled a knife on the deputy she tried to run over earlier in the day. We're told she also hit and kicked that deputy before she was arrested. Deputies arrested 2 people on charges on hindering and prosecution or apprehension. Allen's boyfriend, Dustin Morgan, was arrested at his home on Sally's Branch Road, while deputies say Terry Dodd let Allen stay at her house on Langnau Road, knowing she was wanted on several felony charges. Allen faces a long list of charges, including attempted murder of a police officer, fleeing police, and wanton endangerment. Her son Braden is with his biological father this morning. Live in studio, Mike Byer, WKYT.
So the search is over for a man wanted for a string of crimes in several eastern Kentucky counties. Timothy Lawson is now in custody in Clay County. Deputies there started looking for him for a parole violation. During their search, investigators say Lawson stole nearly a dozen cars in Clay, Owsley, Perry, and Leslie counties. The Clay County Sheriff says they got a call from someone saying Lawson was at their home yesterday. They kept him there until deputies arrived. Investigators say Lawson admitted to being on drugs while committing the crimes.
Just pretty much strung out on drugs. A lot of the crimes, after interviewing, he has very little knowledge of even committing.
Now, the sheriff says in just Clay County alone, Lawson faces armed robbery, kidnapping, and theft of an automobile. And in Fleming County, state police are investigating a crash that killed 2 people. Troopers say 2 vehicles collided head-on along Kentucky 11 near Sherburne. Shane Day and Robin Willoughby were pronounced dead at the scene. A passenger in Willoughby's car was taken to UK hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. Troopers have not said what caused the crash. We've learned that a Lexington cook arrested last week while on a plane in Charlotte has been fired from his job. Our partners at the Lexington Herald-Leader say Michael Kerr used to work at Portofino. Investigators say last week Kerr attacked a flight crew on a plane that was going from Lexington to Charlotte. They say Kerr was impatient to get off the plane after it had landed and ignored orders to stay in his seat. Kerr is expected back in court tomorrow for a detention hearing. It's the deadliest accident of its kind in recent U.S. history. A hot air balloon caught fire and hit the ground in central Texas, killing all 16 people on board. Federal investigators say it happened near Lockhart. They say the balloon may have hit power lines before the crash. The FAA and the NSTB are investigating the incident. Officials say it will take several days to collect evidence and interview witnesses. According to the NTSB, the highest number of fatalities in a single hot air balloon crash in the U.S. before this incident was 6. This morning in California, more than 5,000 firefighters are battling a week-old wildfire that's expected to burn until the end of August. So far, 57 homes have been destroyed and 2,000 more are threatened. Carter Evans has the update from Los Angeles.
Out of control near the coastal resort town of Big Sur, burning in steep, rugged terrain, the Soberanes fire has scorched more than 51 square miles of Northern California in just 1 week. More than 5,000 firefighters from across the region are already on the scene. A contractor was killed earlier this week when the bulldozer he was operating on the fire line rolled over. So far, at least 68 structures have burned, most of them homes, and 2,000 more are threatened in what would normally be peak season for Big Sur business operators like Kirk Gaffill.
We're juggling accommodating staff who've lost housing and trying to assist them because of the fire in terms of what their needs are, as well as preparing the property in preparation for the fire if it starts to come in our direction.
Big Sur stretches along 85 miles of Northern California coastline, and it's one of the most popular tourist destinations in the U.S. with more than 3 million visitors a year. But many are canceling trips after fire officials warned it could be a month before the flames are under control. So even at high season, the River Inn has some empty rooms, according to manager Rick Aldinger.
We get a lot of day business here too. A lot of people just traveling through Big Sur, and that's certainly decreased. We see that in the restaurant and in the general store market sales.
Even worse than the lost business is the potential loss of this community, as the fire seen in this time-lapse video grows closer to the historic Pacific Coast Highway along one of the most scenic drives in the country. Authorities expect the fire to grow 5 times bigger over the next few weeks, burning 265 square miles. That's an area larger than the city of Chicago. Carter Evans, CBS News, Los Angeles.
And in lighter news this morning, Harry Potter is back. Nearly 10 years after J.K. Rowling's latest installment, world of Wizarding fans are rejoicing for a new book in the beloved series. Harry Potter and the Cursed Child released at midnight last night. The date just happens to be both the series creators' birthdays along with Harry Potter's birthday. The book is a script to a play, The Cursed Child, and it's currently running in London. If you missed the midnight festivities, the Barnes & Noble in Hamburg is hosting a celebration for the release. The event starts at 9 this morning, and there'll be some Harry Potter themed activities going on all day in the store. So we're just getting started here on WKYT this morning. There's plenty ahead, including a story about millennials who they say are changing the way people enjoy the great outdoors. Find out how ahead on WKYT this morning. And it's not fast food, but it sure is fancy. We'll take a look at a trendy new London restaurant that's the first of its kind. That's coming up after Mike's forecast.
The final day of July looks to feature some active weather. Coming up, I'll show you when we could potentially be looking at additional rounds of storms, and that could continue as we head into August as well. That's all coming up.
Now, your hour-by-hour forecast with Mike Linden.
As we kick off the final day of July, we're starting off with some spots looking really nice, and other spots where it's hard to really see very much at all. Check out these Kentucky cameras across the state. Really not seeing very much in Breathitt County. It's a little difficult to see what's going on in front of you in Jackson, and that's because of the dense fog, as you can already tell. Eastern Kentucky is socked in, but can't say the same about Central Kentucky. A great start here in Lexington. You can actually see the blue skies starting off really well here. on our final day of July. Although the same can't be said for the Kentucky-Tennessee line. Clinton and now Wayne counties starting to see the heavy rainfall. That's tracking right along the border of Kentucky and Tennessee. It's kind of a rogue storm off on its own. What we're watching, though, is this cold front set up to our northwest. And as this front digs in toward the southeast, it's going to trigger additional rounds of thunderstorms. We'll get to that in just a moment. Right now, across the state, temperatures are very similar, somewhat uniform in the lower 70s and upper 60s. So if you're getting up early, getting your family ready to go to church, you're going food shopping, taking the dog on a walk, or maybe even just exercising outside, maybe going for a hike, temperatures are very comfortable no matter where you look this morning, as we start off pretty much at room temperature, the upper 60s, low 70s. That's quickly going to change, though, into the afternoon today, back to the mid to high 80s. That's where we should be normally for this time of year. But with some humidity left in the air, could feel a degree or two warmer than what the thermometers actually indicate. It's also at that time that thunderstorms are likely to kick off in some southern and eastern Kentucky spots. So let's check it out. This is right around 9 o'clock later this morning. And notice you can see essentially where that cold front will be at that time. You can see the cloud cover to the east and then a very distinct line cutting through right near the Corbin area in Pulaski County. That's where that cold front is essentially drawn out. It's also picking up on that storm that we're currently seeing in Wayne County. So again, you can see how that front will pretty much sit in place over the bluegrass. Things to the west of it, really not so bad, a lot calmer. Things to the east, that's where we're tracking the potential for the thunderstorms, which could indeed bring heavy rain at times. We're looking toward the southeastern mountains, Breathitt County, Laurel County, Wayne, McCreary counties that could be looking at the thunderstorms. Monday morning, we start off with some thick clouds, but it isn't until a little bit later in the day that we see another wave of energy coming in from the west, not to mention that's also going to trigger the moisture that we have already in place over the bluegrass, bringing in additional rounds of thunderstorms and hanging with us until 8 o'clock in the evening and beyond. So that's how we're going to end the month of July and move into the month of August. Stormy, that's the pattern that we've been under, and it looks like it's not changing. As far as flood potential goes, that's something that we'll have to keep our eye on, but it's not necessarily something that is incredibly prevalent today. There could be a few spots dealing with some local high water issues, like some smaller creeks and some streams, but Michelle, it looks like there's just not going to be enough widespread heavy rain for that to be the case today. But if you live in southern or southeastern Kentucky, keep an eye on those things, especially considering the storms, at least for later this afternoon.
And cooler temperatures.
A little bit. I mean,
Yeah.
at least for the morning hours. The afternoon, it's still the summer, upper 80s.
Okay, well, you'll like this next story. It's all about food, and I know you're a big foodie. The 3D printing food revolution is here. But if you want to take part, it's going to cost you some money.
Didn't know that the revolution
Yes.
had even started. But check out this pop-up restaurant in London where they're using a 3D printer to print out food. And the way that it works is it's a printer, right? And it uses this kind of ink, edible ink, to print out food. This 9-course tasting menu in London will only run you about $330. The restaurant, Food Inc., isn't even using ink. They're actually using food as their ink. Now, those printers also print the chairs, the plates, the cutlery. Pretty much everything in the restaurant is made using a 3D printer, and it takes quite a few people to do it: a chef, a food designer, and an engineer.
We take the food, and it can be anything you want, as freshly prepared or locally sourced as you want, as healthy as you'd like, and we make it into a paste or a puree in a blender or even by hand. And then it goes in these cartridges, and the printer moves very precisely.
Organizers say after only 7 minutes after opening, all 30 seats in the 3-night pop-up sold out. They're only serving 10 guests a night, so it looks like they're getting in and they're getting out in the right time. So pretty impressive there as far as what they're accomplishing and for opening a successful restaurant.
Yeah, my question to the viewers and to you, would you pay $300 to eat at this place?
That's tough. I mean, there's plenty of other restaurants I would go to, especially at that price point. I think it's really cool, and I would love to own a 3D printer, but at least they're using new technology for food. I mean, I'm all for it. I think it's cool.
Yeah, and you said it, it's pretty much pretty pureed food, right?
Yeah, I mean, they can design it in whatever you want, so that's pretty cool.
Thanks so much. We have another interesting story coming up when we come back. 1 in 3 Americans went camping last year, and it's a growing trend with young people. That's coming up on WKYT this morning. But before we go, Tuesday night's Mega Millions jackpot is $25 million. Wednesday night's Powerball jackpot, $40 million. We'll be right back. Welcome back to WKYT This Morning. A report says nearly 1 in 3 Americans went camping last year. Now, people from more than 1 million households camped for the first time, and nearly half were millennials. But this generation is changing the way people enjoy the great outdoors. Here's the story.
All right.
For these 10 friends looking for the perfect camping spot, nothing beats Catalina Island, which sits about 20 miles off the California coast.
Millennials are looking for unique destinations. We'll go the extra mile if it affords us an experience that not everyone else is having.
Travel blogger Trevor Morrow camps around the world, regularly posting pictures for his more than 8,000 Instagram followers. Like many millennials, part of what drew him to this campsite were the amenities. The island campground provides all the basics like tents and stoves, along with stand-up paddleboards and kayaks. It also provides easy access to Wi-Fi.
For those people that say, this is not camping, how do you respond to them?
I say camping can be whatever you want it to be.
Campgrounds of America, the world's largest system of privately held campgrounds, is now redesigning some of their nearly 500 North American campgrounds to include features younger campers value. Sites like GetOutfitted.com offer weekend gear rental. Other startups like HipCamp, an online Airbnb-type rental, make it easier for users to find and reserve unique spots.
I say wherever you feel comfortable in the wilderness, as long as you get outside and enjoy nature, I just say go for it.
Making this the next generation to discover what makes the great outdoors so great. Mireya Villarreal, Catalina Island.
Beautiful scenery there. There's still more to come on WKYT This Morning. Sports is next.
Welcome back to WKYT This Morning. We're not necessarily seeing widespread active weather this morning, but what we are finding, at least in a few spots, is some pretty dense fog. Rowan County, you can see at least along the horizon, it's a little foggy, but nothing compares to eastern Kentucky this morning. This is Jackson. Breathitt County, it's difficult to see this morning over eastern Kentucky, right along those mountains, and that does extend northward along I-64 into Rowan County. But if you're waking up this morning and hitting the road, just be safe out on the roadways along the Mountain Parkway, along the Hal Rogers Parkway. Active weather is right along the southern Kentucky line, right along Kentucky and Tennessee, moving through Clinton County and into Wayne County, so not as widespread and more so isolated this morning. But as we get into the afternoon today, the potential is still there for those pop-up thunderstorms. We're looking at high temperatures in the upper 80s today, a little humid, and again, the pop-up thunderstorm chance, especially for southern and southeastern Kentucky. Lee K. Howard is back in next with sports.
One of the NBA's best young shooters is also a former Wildcat. Of course, we're talking about Devin Booker, who made the all-rookie team and is now a member of USA Basketball. Booker was back in the Bluegrass this weekend helping out at John Calipari's shooting camp, saying that he was a catch-and-shoot guy at UK. Booker has since expanded his game at the NBA level.
I always known I can do the things I'm showing the NBA. It's just, I had to fit in with the team, and that was part of sacrificing. And I knew that coming here. That's what Cal preached was. Everybody's going to eat, but you're going to have to sacrifice. So that was one of our sayings here, and I was stuck with it. And obviously it played out well. I was still a lottery pick, so I'm definitely fine with that. And, I wish I could have shown more to the Kentucky fans, but at the end of the day, I feel like I'm in a great situation, and we made a lot of memories here.
For a second straight year, the UK football team enters fall camp with a new offensive coordinator. Eddie Gran and Darren Henshaw were hired this past spring to run an up-tempo type offense similar to the offense run by Shannon Dawson and Neil Brown. Gran was asked by moderator Tom Leach at Friday's UK kickoff luncheon what kind of tempo he ideally wants to play with.
I think it's as fast as we can go right out of the gate. If
nothing's going to change there, Tom. You've heard me talk about it. As fast as we could go, as long as we're getting first down and points.
That's exactly right. And we do understand that. And it's critical to understand the game and where we're at. But we'd like to dictate to the defense and them not to us. So if we can go fast and we are moving it, that's what we're going to do. If we need to slow it down, we slow it down.
And finally, hopefully we'll get some golf in today. Play was suspended because of heavy rain at the PGA Championship on Saturday, so play is scheduled to resume today, this morning at 7 a.m. The leaderboard looks exactly the same after it did on Friday's second round. The leaders actually never got on the course on Saturday. Jimmy Walker and Robert Streb are tied with a 2-shot lead. Like I said, hopefully we'll get some golf in, and we will bring you some highlights tonight at 6 o'clock right here on WKYT. But that's it for your morning sports. Have a great day.
Now at 8:30 on WKYT this morning, a Laurel County child is safe this morning, and the child's mother is behind bars after nearly running over a deputy. New details coming up just ahead. Plus, investigators in southern Kentucky are trying to figure out what led up to a teenager's death. We'll hear from neighbors near the home where her body was found. And it's the end of an era in Lexington, the last issue of the Herald Leader printed right here in the city. We'll have that story coming up on WKYT this morning.
This is WKYT This Morning.
Good Sunday morning to you. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Michelle Chamberlain. Sean Moody has the morning off, and Mike Linden is here with a look at today's forecast. Mike, yesterday morning was pretty wet. This morning, it looks pretty outside.
Yeah, not so much. We are seeing some active weather out there, but it's very isolated. What we are finding this morning, though, Michelle, some foggy conditions, especially over eastern Kentucky. We look here at these 9 cameras across the bluegrass, Elizabethtown, Franklin County, Fayette County, all looking pretty good. Although one of the prettiest cameras, at least normally, not looking so pretty this morning. Socked in by the fog in Breathitt County. Jackson, not exactly the greatest start to the day, and it looks like that's where the dense fog is trapped right now, in the southeastern mountains. So if you're hitting the Mountain Parkway or the Hal Rogers Parkway this morning, take it easy. We're looking at some dense fog, and it has not gone much of anywhere here over the past hour. As far as active weather goes, like Michelle touched on, we did see quite a bit of it yesterday morning, but not so much today. Now pushing into Whitley County, moving through, or pushing into McCreary County rather. Wayne, Clinton counties did see the heavy rain, but that's about it. As far as the afternoon goes, I am tracking additional rounds of storms that are likely to continue into the start of August, and coming up, I'll take you hour by hour and show you where those storms are likely to be. Michelle?
Thank you, Mike. We're learning new details about what led up to the arrest of a Laurel County mother. Deputies say Jamie Allen's 5-year-old son, Braden, is safe this morning with family after he was reported missing. And Allen is in the Laurel County Detention Center on a list of charges, including attempted murder of a police officer. WKYT's Mike Byers live in our studio this morning with details. Mike?
Jamie Allen is currently behind bars, but we've learned she did not go into custody easily when deputies found her near London with her son. It all started yesterday when a deputy first went to a home on Sally's Branch Road. The homeowner, who is Allen's boyfriend, asked for her to be removed from the home. We're told Allen tried to run a deputy over while her son was still in the car with her.
Now she's looking at several felonies, including possibly attempted murder on a police officer.
Home on Langnow Road with her son just after 10 o'clock last night. That home about 10 miles east of London. Officers say Allen pulled a knife on the deputy she tried to run over earlier in the day. We're told she also hit and kicked that deputy before she was arrested. Deputies arrested 2 people on charges on hindering prosecution or apprehension. They are Allen's boyfriend, Dustin Morgan, who was arrested at his home on Sally's Branch Road, and Terry Dodd, who deputies say let Allen stay at her house on Langnow Road, knowing she was wanted on several felony charges. Speaking of charges, Allen faces a long list of them, including attempted murder of a police officer, fleeing police, and wanton endangerment. Her son Braden is with his biological father this morning. Live in studio, Mike Byer, WKYT.
Thank you, Mike. Investigators in southern Kentucky are trying to figure out what led up to a teenager's death. 16-year-old Kaylee Lockaby was last seen Tuesday in Laurel County. Her body was found near a house in rural Whitley County Friday. Deputies think she was with Skylar Barnett. He's in jail on multiple charges, including an unlawful transaction with a minor. Deputies say they arrested him at the same property where her body was found. Neighbors say Barnett was familiar with the area.
The increased amount of traffic seemed like going in and out here lately, odd cars that we hadn't seen all summer. And too, the hours has been later than normal. It scared both of us a little bit to know that something that serious happened this close.
Investigators are still trying to figure out what happened. Neighbors say Barnett is familiar with the area and the coroner has not released a cause of death. New this morning, the Boyle County Sheriff's Office is looking for a man who nearly hit a deputy's cruiser. Deputies responded to Webster Road, not far from Perryville, to check out a suspicious vehicle. We're told Rodney Satterley was in the car, and when deputies found him, he almost hit the cruiser head on. Officials say the deputy went into a ditch to keep from getting hit. Now we're told deputies caught up to Satterley's car, but he ran into the woods. Friends and family are coming together to help a man shot in Lexington with his medical bills. Friends of Skylar Ray hosted a skating competition in Paris to help raise money for Skylar. Ray was shot 2 months ago outside of Saddle Ridge on South Broadway in Lexington. Now Ray is in need of a communication device and a customized wheelchair. The event's organizer says that he is happy with how the community has rallied together.
The people are a phone call away. You know, skateboarding communities, it's a really tight-knit community. So especially when they see somebody in need, everybody rallies behind that one person and comes together.
The family is looking to raise at least $30,000 for the communications device and the wheelchair. Donations can be made at either a Kentucky bank in Paris or a GoFundMe page that they have set up. Today, friends and family of a man killed in a Boyle County wreck will gather together to help raise money for his family. Matt Darlin was one of 3 people killed in that wreck early this month. All 3 were from Harrodsburg. Police say the car crashed into a rock wall on Faulkner Lane and then caught fire. Today at Anderson Dean Park in Harrodsburg, there will be a cruise-in fundraiser for Darlin from 2 to 6 this afternoon. Hillary Clinton and Tim Kaine are in the middle of a 3-day bus tour in the battleground states of Pennsylvania and Ohio, where Donald Trump will visit next week. The Republican nominee is accusing Clinton of tampering with their debate schedule. Weijia Zhang reports from Washington.
The next president of the United States, Hillary Clinton.
Hillary Clinton and Tim Kaine's Stronger Together bus tour took them from Pennsylvania to Youngstown, Ohio Saturday. Clinton told supporters her economic plan will create more jobs and strengthen the economy.
We are going to have the biggest job creation program since World War II.
But the latest CBS News poll shows voters believe Donald Trump would better handle the economy.
There are now 1 million jobs in America that are not being filled. We don't have enough machinists, tool and die workers, welders, coders. I've got a plan to encourage businesses to pay to train people.
For the first time, Donald Trump is responding to claims he sacrificed nothing for his country, made by the father of a fallen Muslim U.S. Army soldier at the Democratic National Convention.
I think I made a lot of sacrifices. I worked very, very hard. I've created thousands and thousands of jobs.
The race to the White House includes 3 general election debates between September and October. Trump is accusing Clinton of rigging the schedule. Late Friday night, he tweeted, as usual, Hillary and the Dems are trying to rig the debate so 2 are up against major NFL games, same as last time with Bernie. Unacceptable. But the dates have been set since last September by the Nonpartisan Commission on Presidential Debates. On Monday, it's Trump's turn to try and sway voters in Pennsylvania and Ohio. Weijia Zhang, CBS News, the White House.
So things didn't go as planned in a Louisville courtroom. A judge scolded jail officials for bringing a female inmate to court on Friday with no jumpsuit and no pants. On the courtroom video recording, an attorney for the woman tells the judge that the jail refused to give her client pants or hygiene products. The woman was in jail for not completing a diversion program for shoplifting. She's been held at the jail for days without pants. She was just wearing a long shirt with shorts.
Excuse me? This is outrageous. Is this for real? What is this? Am I in the Twilight Zone? What is happening?
The judge apologized to the woman and released her with time served and a $100 fine. The last issue of the Lexington Herald-Leader to be printed in Lexington will roll off the press this morning. The paper says they've been printing in Lexington for 229 years. Starting tomorrow, the newspaper will be printed and packaged at Gannett Publishing Services in Louisville. The Herald-Leader president and publisher says the move will allow the newspaper to focus its resources on digital news, information, and advertising operations. Some summer fun is coming to an end here in Lexington. The Douglas and Picadome pools close for the season tonight at 6 o'clock. The 4 aquatic centers will still be open. Coming up on WKYT this morning, a warning. This new world record might make you queasy, especially if you're afraid of heights. The story's coming up after Mike's forecast.
And across Kentucky, we're not necessarily seeing any thunderstorms, although what we are finding some pretty dense fog. Once we get rid of that, we're back to the storms. I'll show you when they'll arrive and where they'll be coming up.
Now, your hour-by-hour forecast with Mike Linden.
The final day of the month is here, and all month long it has just been ugly, especially in the back end of the month here. Stormy and wet. For the final day, though, things will be hit or miss. Most of us will miss, although there will be some spots dealing with active weather. Not necessarily seeing much of it this morning. We look across Kentucky, and what we are finding, some pretty dense fog, especially in eastern Kentucky. How about in Jackson? Breathitt County is socked in. Usually this is the most breathtaking view I can show you, but there's really not much to see. You can hardly even see the trees through the fog as we get started this morning. In central Kentucky, a little different. This is here in Lexington. We're actually seeing some blue skies, and there isn't too much fog at the surface, very light. What we are finding, though, especially along the Kentucky-Tennessee line, well, here's a few spots that are hitting this morning. Some thunderstorms tracking right along the border, now moving into McCreary County, close to Whitley City. This was in Clinton and Wayne County not long ago, but what we are finding is that heavy rain, some lightning as well, tracking its way along the Tennessee-Kentucky line. This is all part of this cold front to our north that as it digs into the bluegrass state, it's going to bring with it some active weather, that being thunderstorms. Temperature-wise this morning, most spots are pretty comfortable. The low 70s and upper 60s. Franklin County still lagging behind a little bit at 69, whereas most of central Kentucky is just ahead at about 70, 71 or so degrees. But moving into our afternoon today, we get back into the mid to high 80s. That's normal for this time of year. It's the summer. You expect it to be in the mid 80s. And something else that we expect to find, the thunderstorms. Those will get going into the afternoon today, especially so for southern and southeastern Kentucky. So again, that front that moved in last night is very slowly finding a place here over the bluegrass. This is 9 o'clock this morning, so a good 20 minutes or so from now. Still looking at that front sitting above us. As it begins to work its way southward, though, it's going to trigger those thunderstorms out ahead of it. We're looking at Laurel County, the spots that are seeing active weather this morning, that being McCreary, Wayne, Pulaski counties. We look toward the southeast as well. Those spots seeing the thunderstorms. Clay, Leslie counties. Pushing further southward, overnight tonight, that's when some of that cooler air should at least work to calm things down. It isn't until, though, we get into tomorrow morning that we're looking at a warm front on the backside of that cold front, bringing in additional rounds of thunderstorms. This time, though, it looks a little bit more widespread as we head into Monday afternoon. That's the first of the month tomorrow, so rent's due, and we're looking at some active weather to boot. So today, the final day of the month, pretty normal by summer standards in the upper 80s with those thunderstorm chances. As far as the flood potential, that seems to be a little on the low end of things, although local high water issues for those spots that are still pretty soggy in the south and southeast are possible. Just got to keep your eye on it and be safe.
And I'm embarrassed to say it's August almost.
Right? I mean, I got
goodness.
engaged a year ago.
Oh.
Wild. Crazy.
The big wedding's
time
coming up.
flies. Man.
Wait, it gets quicker and quicker as you get older. Just know that.
We'll see.
So this is a pretty cool story. An American skydiver has set a new world record. This guy's 42 years old, and he's the first person to free fall without a parachute.
You said without a parachute?
Yes, without a parachute. He landed in a net instead.
Oh, well, that's just great.
Yeah.
This is Luke Akins. He jumped out of a plane 18,000 times. It's a lot. So his 25,000-foot leap to Earth set a world record for the highest jump without a parachute. He was in free fall for 2
Oh my gosh, that makes me sick to my
minutes.
stomach.
Now this is the part that oh my gosh, it's a 100 by 100 foot net that he landed in there. He spent 2 years preparing for it. Michelle, would you ever do anything like that?
No. When I saw this story, I thought, oh, this guy did it on purpose, because I thought maybe there was some type of accident. He did it on purpose.
Yeah, no, I'm good on that.
No, thank you.
Planes, you're meant to stay in an airplane. If Sean were here, he would agree with me. He's an aviation guy. You're meant to stay inside
In the airplane,
an airplane.
not fall from it, right? We'll have more news when we come back.
Good morning. I'm Bill Bryant. Senator Mitch McConnell talks about the presidential race and issues facing Congress. A preview of Kentucky Newsmakers is coming up.
This Sunday morning, guns in America. From gang violence in Chicago to guns for sport in Wyoming. We examine one of our nation's most important and divisive issues. Listen to the trumpet.
Good morning. I'm Bill Bryant, hoping you're having a nice weekend. U.S. Senator Mitch McConnell has been a Kentucky senator longer than anybody else in history, and he indicates he'll seek another term in 2020. In an interview with me for this weekend's Kentucky Newsmakers, we also talk about a range of issues and about the presidential race.
Well, I run into people all the time, Bill, that say, I don't like either one of them. And if you look at the surveys, you'll see that most Americans don't like the choice. So how do you make a decision in a race like this? And here's what I tell people. If you're happy with where the country is now, you think America's doing just fine, and want 4 more years just like the last 8, then you ought to vote for Hillary Clinton, the candidate of the status quo. But if you want America to take a new path, this is really not a personality contest, because apparently people are not fond of either one of them. The core issue is, are you satisfied or not? And I think in order to achieve a change in direction, you need different policies in the White House, and I'm convinced Donald Trump will be dramatically different from Barack Obama or Hillary Clinton.
Do you, when Trump campaigns, do you take him at his word that he is for some of the things that he says he is for? And could you support those things in the Senate? Says this wall between the U.S. and Mexico is a top priority. Have you given some thought as to how much money the Congress would allocate for something like that?
Well, there are parts of the border where a wall probably makes sense, other parts where it doesn't. Border security is important, and we haven't done a good job of securing the border. And to the extent that Donald Trump is more serious about securing the border than Hillary Clinton, and I think he is, I certainly agree with him.
Are the political parties in somewhat of an identity crisis right now on both sides? Democrats are openly courting Republican support at their convention this week. Trump says that the supporters of the self-described socialist Bernie Sanders should go for him. Who stands for what?
Well, I think people can pretty safely say the Republican Party is still America's right of center party, and the Democratic Party is not only left of center, but now far left of center, because Hillary Clinton has adopted most of Bernie Sanders' position. So there's a clear choice here philosophically. In terms of appealing to the voters, there's no question that Donald Trump is after people who are losing out in today's economy. Doing particularly well with white working class Americans who've lost jobs to foreign competition. And to the extent that he's appealing to a group that frequently votes Democratic, that's different. I don't think the policies are all that different. Hillary Clinton is obviously trying to make everybody convinced that, that Trump doesn't have the temperament for the job. So we'll see who makes the best argument to the American people and who wins. But, Bill, I keep coming back to it at the risk of repeating myself. Put all that aside, the core question before the American people is, do you really think things are just fine, as President Obama argued at the convention, or do you think we can do a lot better? Hillary Clinton is the candidate of things are just fine, give me 4 more years like the last 8. Donald Trump is a different direction.
Senator McConnell also talks about his autobiography called The Long Game, and he shares stories of growing up somewhat shy before getting into politics. We'll also have a clip from Allison Lundergan Grimes' speech at the Democratic Convention. Kentucky Newsmakers will air again this morning at 10 on the CW Lexington. Set your DVR or watch it then. We'll see you this week bright and early on WKYT This Morning. I'm Bill Bryant. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to WKYT This Morning. Before we go, we have a last story to tell you about this rare flower. It's in bloom in New York, and tourists are not fans of it because of its smell.
It's amazing that they even have tourists to come see the corpse flower with that kind of name, right? Started blooming on Thursday. It's been growing for 10 years. So, of course, people want to come check it out once it blooms, but according to people there, it smells terrible. It's one of the largest flowers on Earth, and it only stays bloom for 2 or 3 days, and it smells like like a corpse, I would imagine, with that kind of name.
Yeah, I looked it up. It smells like a dead animal.
Well, that sounds fun.
Yeah.
Lots of family fun.
So we should run and go see that, right? 2 or 3 days. You got to get out there and smell the flower.
At least it looks pretty.
Yeah,
I think there's,
true.
that's part of it. But here in Kentucky, it looks pretty in quite a few spots. But there is the chance that things can turn a little ugly, especially in southern and southeastern Kentucky later this afternoon. The potential for pop-up thunderstorms will be there as temperatures once again return to the mid to high 80s to round out July.
Looks wet. Have a great Sunday, everybody, and have a great week. Hope it's a good one.